Yo, what's going on? Something a little bit different today. I'm going to do things a little bit more run and gun style. I've been practicing some time-lapse photography. I've done a few test runs over the weekend. So I'm going to take you through the steps that I found started to work, starting to get some really good results. I should have rolled some of the ones that I've already done in the intro. So I kind of wanted to document the whole process. You know, I'm cooped up here now, working from home. Don't really need to mention why, but yeah, we're working from home. So I kind of want to go out while there's a bit of sun. I think the sun sets here around 7 o'clock here in Sydney, Australia. It's about 5:30 now, so I've got about an hour and a half to dash out the door, find a half decent location, set all this stuff up, get the time lapse, come back, do some editing and get the end result. So I'm going to document the whole process. I'll walk you through the settings that I'm using, my thought process when I find the location, all that sort of stuff, how I'm processing it inside the app. But yeah, a little bit different, more of a photography thing. I thought it'd be interesting to document the whole process, mix up the content, you know how it is. All right, cool, so it's time to jump in the car. Let's get going. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have two Fuji cameras. I've only got the one, so I'm gonna have to use my iPhone to double for some of this stuff. But I can't stress how important this step is. Before you leave the house, this shit is so crucial. You need to make sure you've got everything ready. The amount of times I've left stuff home is just absolutely insane. I forget stuff all the time. So I've got my mini tripod. I'm going to travel light today. So mini tripod, XT3, plenty of battery there, 40 minutes recording up the top. That definitely equates to a full memory card. I've got the 16mm 1.4 lens here, and then I've got a filter if I need to. It's kind of getting into sunset, so I don't think I'm going to need it. Make sure I've got the mount at the bottom of the camera. Like, I'm good to go. The amount of times, like, you know, I've left the memory card at home, or I've left the mount for the tripod at home, and you get to the location and you're just out of luck. It's the most frustrating feeling in the world. So I've got everything ready to go. Everything's packed. Let's do it. Come on, come on.
Doors closing. Elevator going down.
Oh, she's a manual fan. Let's get into it. Let's get out of here. All right, so there's a fair bit of life, fair bit of activity in the park. We're going to be going to that hill over there because it's got a pretty good vantage point, and we'll start shooting. So time to get up there. A very simple setup here, just a sort of small tripod. I've locked all the settings in manually because I don't want anything to move while the time lapse is running. So I've got a 200 ISO, 160 shutter speed, f5, and the histogram's looking pretty good. So yeah, everything's completely set up here. So I'm just gonna go into the menus, go down to here, interval time shooting. Let's do a 4-second gap. I'm just gonna do it at 400, and then I can just stop it as it goes. So that's pretty much it. I've manually set the focus as well because I don't want any focus breathing during this setup. So we should be good to go. Let's kick it off. Let's start it now. And away we go. We just wait 20 minutes for this thing to run. Now I'm just eyeballing the exposures, and I feel like it's dropped down a little bit. So I'm just going to increase the ISO in between when it takes a photo, and then we can just deal with this in the software later. So just gonna wait for it. We can see we're about 100 photos in. Alright, so I've just come home, dumped all the files, the raw files into this folder, opened it up into LR Timelapse. So you can download LR Timelapse as a free version. That's the version I'm using, not licensed. I'm not pirating this, it's a totally free version. I'm going to be using 3 programs in total to get the time lapse happening. LR Timelapse does a huge amount of the lifting, so that's like mandatory. It also plays well with Lightroom, and I'm subscribed to Lightroom. And then the last one, when I want to actually put the video together, I'm using DaVinci Resolve for all my video needs. So yeah, so pull it up into LR Timelapse. Just go to the folder that you've dumped it into. It'll auto generate a whole bunch of things. So what you're going to see here is this blue line, and that's the exposure line. You can see there, that's around the 100 photo mark. That's when I changed the ISO, and we can see it reflected there. So you can just play through the whole time lapse and sort of get a general idea for how it all looks. That's looking pretty decent there as a first wave time lapse. There's going to be a few steps here to create the time lapse, so stick with it, follow the methods that I'm doing step by step, and then at the end, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. But just follow the method that I'm doing. This seems to be working well for me now. So I've gone into the visual workflow. I go straight into the keyframe wizard, and no, it's fine. I'll generate a few keyframes. So this is just generates 4 keyframes. I find that's generally fine. It really depends on the sort of time lapse. You know, maybe if you've done something for an hour or longer, you're going to need a whole bunch of keyframes. But for something that's not really changing too much, this is honestly fine. There's 4 keyframes there. So once you've set your keyframes, you've got to make sure you save it. Cool. Now drag this to Lightroom and just drop it in there. So it's going to start importing all the files. So it's already ticked them all. I'm just going to click import. Now it takes a little bit of time, but it saved these keyframes into here, into LRT keyframes. So click there and it will just filter out the 4 photos for us to take a look at. Now while it's loading, I can go straight into my develop tab and start developing this photo. So once you've done editing everything to taste, you've only edited 1 photo. So what I do is I just apply that to the rest of them. So yeah, copy all the settings. Now if they look a little bit dark or something, you can change it. So the first 3 look fine. Last one looks a little bit darker, so we'll just increase the exposure a little bit. Not too much. I mean, the day was actually darkening, so we expect it to be a bit dark. Cool. Once that all looks good, we need to save these because we're going to read them back in LR timelapse. So I'll highlight all of them, metadata, save metadata to files. And then we'll go back to LR timelapse and hit the reload button. Cool, so we can see our keyframes are a little bit different to what it was before. Now hit auto transition. That's just done a transition for us, and then hit visual previews. Alright, so let's take a look at what it's done now. It's looking pretty good. We can see those jumps in light still happening. So that's when you go over to this visual deflicker mode. And you've got this green line that's coming up there. We can see those sort of zigzags and we can smooth them out just like this. I mean, you can go super hardcore on it, but I find just doing a bit more natural is good. I don't mind a bit of ramping there. I'm setting it to this multi-pass deflicker with 2 passes. I'm finding that's pretty good. So just apply this and wait for it to load again. Things should be looking good now. Let's give it another preview. It's looking very, very flush now. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, so let's export this. So save everything again. Save that there. So you got to remember all these changes are being done in the metadata of these files, and that's why you always have to save it before flicking programs. So we've done the final save here, but we need to export everything through Lightroom. So jump back to Lightroom, go back to the full sequence. Press Ctrl A to highlight all the photos, and then in metadata, go read metadata from files because we've just saved it back there. And we'll see now that Lightroom is applying the metadata to all of the photos. Alright, cool, so everything's saved. Just click on the folder here and go File, Export. Now export to LR timelapse here. Now I've got these settings. You can obviously choose the taste. I've gone for pretty high quality here. You can see some different options in the Pro version that I don't have. But yeah, this is what I'm using, and just export it. Once again, takes a little bit of time, but it's going to export all those images for us now. Now we've got 300 files here, and we're going to move them into DaVinci Resolve. But first we need to make sure we've got the right frame rate set. I envision this going at 24 frames a second, and that's what it's set to here. And obviously we just need to go 300 divided by 24, and that's the amount of seconds that we're going to have. So let's just drag all of these in there. So DaVinci Resolve actually just puts it into a single file, which is very handy. and then you can just drag that onto the timeline. So we can see that the 300 files at 24 frames a second has created 12 seconds and 12 and a bit seconds of footage. It's looking very, very good. So you can still do all your color grading here in DaVinci Resolve. You can add your audio to it. You can add your fade in and outs, whatever sort of video related stuff you want to do to this. Let's play the final output now. So there we go, reasonably quick time-lapse tutorial. You know, time-lapses aren't something that I've really done much in the past, so it's pretty good even for myself to go out there, push my creative limits with that. Maybe there'll be a time where I want to shoot some time-lapses and, you know, practice runs like today really make me feel comfortable with the process and I can bang them out when I really need to. Apologies for some of that audio. I'm never going to use the iPhone again for audio. It's scrubbed up so horribly. I think I'm going to get an extension cord for the Rode Wireless Go to plug into the iPhone. So yeah, if you've got any questions on the process, drop them below. As always, smash that like and subscribe button. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.